Migration remains one of the most explosive and defining issues in British politics, and under Sir Keir Starmer's Labour government, the crisis has not just continued, it has worsened. Despite endless slogans about smashing the gangs and restoring fairness, the country has seen record levels of small boat crossings in Labour's first year, a rise in asylum seekers in hotels, and no sign that ministers are prepared to take the bold action required to restore public trust. Labour campaigned on ending the use of asylum hotels by 2029, yet the figures since the election are damning. Nearly 2,500 more asylum seekers are now housed in hotels compared with a year ago, and there are almost as many hotels in use as under the Conservatives. In other words, despite the pledges, the reality is more pressure on communities, more taxpayer money spent, and more political spin. The promise of closure dates before 2029 rings hollow when Labour cannot even reduce numbers in their first year of power. The spending review offered what ministers claimed was a reset. £200 million to cut the asylum backlog, another £200 million in coming years to speed reforms, all pulled from the wider transformation fund. But the public has heard this before. Billions have already been thrown at the problem with little to show for it. People want outcomes, not more cheques signed in Whitehall. To create the impression of action, Labour quickly unveiled a new Border Security Command, pooling Border Force, the NCA and police resources under one roof. Yet results so far reveal the hollowness of the plan. While the government boasts about record disruptions of immigration crime, most are classed as low impact. Arrests are actually down and the gangs behind the crossings continue to profit. It feels like yet another bureaucratic reshuffle, dressed up as reform. Labour also claims to be increasing returns of illegal migrants, pointing to a 13% rise in departures since last year. But the detail matters. Of the 35,000 returns, only about 9,000 were forced removals. The rest left voluntarily or through administrative means. That is not enforcement. It is paper shuffling. Voters want to see illegal entrants put on flights, not offered incentives to leave when it suits them. Perhaps the most controversial development is the so-called one-in, one-out deal with France. On paper, it allows Britain to send back small boat arrivals. In reality, we take in an equal number of asylum seekers from France who arrive via safe routes. The government refuses to publish the balance of numbers, fueling suspicion that Britain is once again shouldering the greater burden. Instead of reducing net migration, it may simply rebrand it. Labour points to tweaks on skilled visas, ending recruitment of foreign care workers, raising thresholds, restricting dependents, but migration remains at historically high levels. Meanwhile, the ECHR still looms over any attempt at deportations. The Home Secretary talks vaguely about reforming interpretation of Article 8, but without any appetite to leave the Convention, Britain's hands remain tied. The contrast with their opponents could not be clearer. The Conservatives, whatever their failings, at least attempted deterrence through the Rwanda plan, which Labour scrapped at a cost of £700 million after only 4 migrants voluntarily relocated. Reform UK has gone further still, calling for Britain to rip up human rights treaties and commit to mass deportations of all illegal arrivals. Kemi Badenoch's Conservatives argue for migrant camps over hotels, decisive measures Labour refuses to consider. The truth is that Starmer's government is not just failing to control immigration, it is actively eroding confidence in the very idea that the problem can be solved. Communities are being left to pick up the tab, taxpayers are being fleeced, and Britain's borders remain porous. By dragging its feet, Labour is ceding the immigration debate to those who are prepared to take the tough but necessary decisions. If Labour's first year is any indication, the promises of control and fairness were little more than election slogans. And the longer the gap between words and action grows, the more inevitable it becomes that the public will turn to alternatives. The question is no longer whether Starmer can fix the crisis. It is whether he ever intended to. Thanks for listening. Labour promised control and fairness, but are they already losing the immigration battle? Do you trust any party to fix Britain's borders? Drop your thoughts below.